Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another video. So I can already tell by the title and thumbnails of this video, people are gonna be like, Connor has officially lost it. I admit that I'm totally crazy. We've already gone over this, but
a viral look-smacker YouTuber known for his bodybuilding workouts and alpha male lifestyle reportedly dies overseas. Sources say he allegedly tore up a luxury rental home in Thailand, ran from the cops, and reportedly drowned in a lake. Here's everything we know about the reported death of Connor Murphy. This is Scandal, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Gillespie. The world awoke Wednesday to shocking reports that look-smacker influencer Connor Murphy died in Thailand at just 32 years old. The details of the report are bizarre, to say the least. We're seeing reports that Connor was acting erratically before his reported death, allegedly tearing up an expensive rental property, leaving unused syringes in the passenger seat of his vehicle, and literally fleeing from police on foot before drowning in a lake. At the time of this recording, we're still working to verify all of the information and sift through what's real and what's not. But before we get into all of that, let's start with an explainer. Who is Connor Murphy?
yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another video, a very not family-friendly video.
Connor Murphy is known for pushing the boundaries. He boasts more than 2 million subscribers on YouTube, nearly 400,000 followers on Instagram, and another 17,000 on TikTok. His content is mainly fitness-focused, but at times, he takes it to an extreme. For example, he took his followers on an alleged 40-day fast where he weighed himself at the same time every day and showed the results. When it was all over, he recorded himself eating for the first time and shared all that with viewers too.
All right guys, wow. It is about 1 hour after I officially completed the 40-day fast. And look what I have. Oh my gosh. It just smells so good. I never thought watermelon could smell so good. This is a surreal moment, man. I cannot believe it is finally the end of this. It was quite the journey. 3, 2, 1. What the f? Whoa! Jesus, it tastes like, it tastes like watermelon, but like, it's almost like you took watermelon, but then put a bunch of like candy over it, like sugary candy all over the watermelon. And it's like, the texture is incredible. What the to be honest, like I've heard about people eating after the fast. I've watched videos and how good it tastes. It's like how I expected, but nothing can describe it. It's better. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is incredible.
So he talked about nutrition of sorts and also mindful practices.
Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another video. So I can already tell by the title and thumbnails of this video, people are gonna be like, Connor has officially lost it. I thought he was getting back to normal, but now he has officially gone crazy. He's staring at the sun for 30 minutes every day. He's gonna go blind, right? Well, no, I've been doing it for a while and my vision is still on point. But I admit that I'm totally crazy. We've already gone over this, but the practice that I've been doing is actually this practice called sun gazing, which has been around for a very, very long time. What is sun gazing? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, man. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. You literally stare at the sun, okay? But Connor, staring at the sun, isn't that gonna make me blind? I've been told since I was a kid that it's gonna hurt my eyes. Well, maybe it will, maybe, if you stare at it in the middle of the day when the UV radiation is high. But if you stare at the sun during the first hour of sunrise or the last hour of sunset, the UV radiation is so insignificant that it cannot cause any damage to your eyes.
On top of his tips and tricks, shall we say, Connor also posted about his quote-unquote true self.
Yes, all of this has been an act. I have been acting. I have been an actor since the very beginning. Further back than you guys probably realize. you will find that through this entire process, in fact, any time that you have seen me on the internet, I have not been myself. Now, why have I not been myself? Well, I will tell you. There is no self. The self is an illusion. Acting is the reality. Not just for me, but for everyone. Does that mean that there haven't been some incredible truths in these videos that I've been putting out? No, not at all. But I certainly haven't been acting myself.
And that brings us to the scandal of it all. There have now been reports that Connor died this week while vacationing in Thailand. It reportedly happened about 16 miles south of Bangkok. And all of this, by the way, is being reported by a variety of sites, including Thai Wrath Online, which is one of the most reputable news agencies in Thailand. I'm going to read through their report word for word so you get an exact account from their reporting. And I do also want to note that this is a translated version into English. The disclaimer on their website reads, "This English content is automatically translated from Thai version by AI. Thai Wrath does not guarantee accuracy, completeness, or reliability of that translation. Please refer to the Thai version." Now let's get into it. The article begins with a main photo showing 3 rescue workers on what looks like a lake where Connor reportedly drowned. You can see at least one person is wearing what looks like an EMT type uniform holding onto a rope. The man on the far left is holding something that looks like diving gear, and behind this group of 3 men in the photo, you can see what looks to be 2 more in the area where the land meets the water. Underneath this photo, the article begins. It reads, quote, "An American man went on a violent rampage, painting the entire interior of a luxury rental home valued at 22 million baht, causing extensive damage before running into the village lake where he drowned. His girlfriend stated she did not know the cause, while the homeowner was shocked and never expected to encounter such a scene." At 3 p.m. on 7 July 2026, Police Lieutenant Colonel Weerapong Rup Suai, Deputy Investigation Officer at Bangpli Police Station, received a report of a foreign man acting erratically and jumping into the lake of a luxury village in Bangpli District, Samut Pranga Province. He, along with emergency doctors from Ramati Bodhi Kakri Naru Botindra Hospital and volunteers from Po Tek Tung Foundation, rushed to the scene. The scene was a luxury house situated next to a large pond. Divers were searching for the missing person before finding the body of Connor Michael Murphy, 32, an American, about 20 meters from the shore. They recovered the body for examination on land. No wounds or signs of assault were found. The police sent the body for further autopsy at Ramati Bodhi Katri Naru Botindra Hospital. Now, at this point in the article, a second photo is shown, and this looks to be the reported rental property where Connor was staying. You can see the living room area looks in complete disarray. The couch is stained. There's something smeared on the walls and the floor, and the coffee table is full of plates, cups, and even a broom. The article goes on to say, reviewing video footage recorded by Ms. A, pseudonym, a village staff member, showed the foreign man suddenly exhibiting erratic behavior without known cause. He ran and swam in the village lake until he became exhausted and submerged before witnesses' eyes. No one dared to enter the water due to its depths of over 10 meters, so they immediately called authorities. Divers from Po Tek Tung Foundation searched for about 30 minutes before locating and retrieving the body ashore. Security personnel at the village reported that the man went out and returned by a hired vehicle, which stopped at the security checkpoint. He offered the driver 1,000 baht, but the driver refused due to the man's abnormal behavior. Then the man approached a resident's car passing by, knocked on the window to get a ride inside, while security shouted, "Don't pick him up." The man then became agitated, shouting loudly and rolling on the road, making gestures as if praying to God. When police patrol arrived, he fled into the village and jumped into the lake to swim. Police called for backup and rescue teams as they could not control him. Eventually, he exhausted himself and drowned. The article then features a photo of what seems to be the kitchen area of this rental property, and you can clearly see the cabinets covered in what looks like paint, and those same spatters are all over the sink and the backsplash in the kitchen. The article goes on to say Ms. B, pseudonym 22, the deceased's girlfriend, said they had been together for about 3 years, but had lived apart due to incompatible lifestyles. They'd reunited less than 3 months ago. Before the incident, their life was normal with no problems or signs of illness. She did not know why he suddenly became erratic that day and never saw him use drugs during their time together. The vandalism with paint happened during the previous night while she was asleep. He refused to sleep. Ms. View, pseudonym, the homeowner, shared her shock upon seeing the house, which had been completely defaced with paint, including electrical appliances. She said she loved and cherished the house, a beautiful property by the lake currently valued at 22 million baht. It was rented out for 35,000 baht per month and had been leased for only 3 months. She had carefully chosen the tenant and never expected to find the house in such a damaged state, with furniture and decorations all destroyed. Investigators from Bang Pli police station searched the house and the deceased's car, finding 2 unused syringes on the front driver's seat and unidentified white pills in the deceased's waist bag. One more photo is shown here of what seems to be a wall in the rental property. It almost looks as if someone dipped their fingers in black paint and brushed it along the painting already hung on the wall. You can see the fingerprints and hand strokes along the entire wall and even on the ceiling. Now, the article ends by saying, initially investigators from Bang Pli police station, forensic doctors from Ramatibodi Khatri Nabu Radindra Institute, and rescue personnel conducted an autopsy, finding bruises likely caused by rolling on the road. The rescue team will send the body for further examination to determine the exact cause of death, including drug testing. Evidence is being collected, and the American Embassy in Thailand has been notified to provide information about the incident. Wow, so many questions in this case. Namely, what on earth happened? Let's bring on one of my all-time favorite guests to break it all down for us. It's forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan. It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming on Scandal and sharing your time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Sierra. It's a pleasure, as always, to be with you.
Yeah, you're the best. You're one of the favorites. And I want to let people know, too, that we found out about this news literally this morning. We called you right away and you're like, okay, yep, drop everything, coming on. And you did. And I guess that's another thing that I want to point out, too, is everything we're talking about right now is reported. We don't have an autopsy results in front of us. We don't have anything like that. So it's all reported facts that we've got from the news agencies over in Thailand. But from what you've seen, I mean, what are you thinking happened here?
Well, when you're taking in, the article that you sent me over, they've got interior shots of this domicile where he was, and I think that's part and it's evidence that this individual was in some kind of mental health crisis, because the behaviors that would be associated with the damage that was done is not something that you would, say, wow, yeah, this is normal behavior. Something's going on with this individual, and it's so super bizarre. Everything from, making handprints on the wall. I'm not sure what kind of medium he was using, if it's paint or some kind of ink or something like that. I have questions about some of the deposition that's on the furniture, the sofa. There is kind of a destruction that's gone on in the kitchen area. Things are turned over. If I was just walking into this as an investigator, there's that old line that we always say, no signs of forced entry or struggle. This looks like a struggle, but I don't know who he was struggling with. It may have been struggling up here. Who knows? But it is certainly bizarre.
And according to the article, his girlfriend, I guess, said there were no signs of mental illness. He seemed good to go. She went to bed. She says she woke up and the entire house was kind of in disarray. And we've shown the photos here. We've talked about them. It looks like at least he put something on his hands and almost like painted the walls with his hands. But then, as you pointed out, on the couch, I don't know if it looks like paint. What are your thoughts about the couch, the living room area?
I've got to say, and I'm going to be very frank here, some of the stains that I'm seeing right now looks like excrement. And it's that foul, when you see it. And folks, I don't have to go into graphic detail about this, but you can take a look at it and see that this is probably not the same medium he was working on on the walls where he's doing his handprints. This is something completely different. And again, that goes to something that's going on with this guy in his mind, perhaps. I don't know what the genesis of this is, and here's another thing that's quite interesting relative to the girlfriend that is there, in the home. She didn't hear anything. She wakes up to this because I got to tell you, he's making noise, all right? Yeah. He's making noise. I don't know how big the structure is, but the fact that she was not aware of it, and she says there was no signs of any kind of mental issues prior to this, right there before us, I think that we have some kind of physical evidence that something was going on, something was wrong with this guy.
And there's a couple of roads that we could take here, right? Mm-hmm. Like whether you're talking about maybe there was some sort of mental break. I don't know his history. Obviously, I don't have his medical records, if he speaks to a psychologist or was on any sort of prescription medication, all of that. It does kind of sound like that. But at the same time, I do wonder, just based on my job and, the many cases I've done, whether there was any sort of recreational drug use. Now, his girlfriend says there was no sign of it, but according to reports, we've seen syringes. Again, the reports state unused syringes, and that he was found with a couple of white pills kind of in a fanny pack type thing. What are your thoughts from the offset? Could it be both things, a mental health break and drug use?
Yeah, it's quite possible. And sometimes those things go hand in hand, right? If you've got somebody that's trying to self-medicate, or maybe they're kind of existing on another plane relative to the lifestyle that they lead, we don't know what kind of access he could have had in a foreign nation to illicit substances. You go to a lot of these countries in Southeast Asia and you try to acquire any kind of illicit substance, and you're in big trouble down there. It's not like the U.S. where you might get a slap on the wrist or a short-term incarceration. There, they will put you under the jail. So I would be very curious what those pills were. And here's another thing that's going to happen. Promise you this. Watch and see if this doesn't develop. Those authorities over there are going to do a deep dive into those substances that were contained in this conveyance that he had, and they're going to want to track that back to whoever it is he got these from, whether it was dispensed illegally or if it's something that he got, from some kind of illegal, illicit source. They're gonna follow the thread with this because they don't abide it, they don't tolerate it. So this is going to be interesting to see how this develops.
That reminds me, completely different circumstances, but we reported extensively about the Liam Payne case, and obviously, the incident where he fell off the balcony, but we did see eventually charges were filed and later dropped involving people who had given him the drugs that he had ingested. So right. I would expect to see something kind of similar if they do find some sort of drugs in his body. And I guess that kind of leads into the next question, because you're the expert in all of this. What sort of drugs would you hypothesize if he had taken to make him act this way? And by that, I mean he was rolling around on the ground like the pavement and had bruises on his body. Some people reported that he made almost like praying motions, like he was praying to the Lord. He ran from police into a lake. I mean, what would cause somebody to act like that?
Well, let's take a couple of different categories here. Let's just say he's on some kind of hallucinogen, all right? Well, this can make people behave in these odd manners like this as well. I would be very curious to know, though, the nature of this behavior. Was it real frenetic? Was it out of control? Was he just running amok? Because sometimes you can see people on hallucinogens that, are acting oddly, but they're kind of passive when you see them. And that brings us to another category where if it's some kind of stimulant that he's on, whether it's something that could have been prescribed, or if it's something like, some kind of amphetamine within the amphetamine family, if it's Coke, for instance, and we don't know what it may have been blended with as well. So that's the road I would go down. I wouldn't be thinking like opiates here, okay? There's something that's going to impact behaviorally that will be demonstrative. And again, we have this event where he's going through and he's kind of smearing on the walls and the furniture and all this sort of stuff, and then running around outside in traffic. He's got multiple injuries over the surface of his body. that look like impact injuries. I don't know if that's necessarily associated with another person he may have come in contact with, but certainly like contusions, that sort of thing. And then you've got this bizarre set of things that's going on where I think the police, correct me if I'm wrong, had showed up. He's, I don't know if it was before or after, he kind of sashayed off into this pond. And, there he is in the pond. He's already acting, behaviorally, askew. And now he's in the pond for 30 minutes. He drowns. They have to retrieve him out of the water at that point in time. I don't know. We were talking before we went to tape here, and one of the things that this kind of reflectively makes me think of, there's a condition called excited delirium syndrome, and many times it's associated with arrest by the police. People begin to panic, and most people do. Most people don't just, their blood pressure and their heart rate doesn't stay at the same time when they're putting the silver bracelets on your wrist. All right, most people, become,
it's scary,
hypervigilant. They become anxious, those sorts of things. And sometimes with excited delirium syndrome, you can have people that have shallow respirations. It does cause people to go into cardiac arrest. That's why they don't do hog tying anymore, and place people into the back of seats for a protracted period of time. And maybe that's what's going on with him, and it's further exacerbated by any kind of substance that he may have on board.
I mean, you brought it up there talking about how things are much different overseas than they are here. That to me is one of my biggest fears, is getting arrested overseas, because I know my rights here in America. What's going on? I don't know in Thailand what's going to happen. So I would be frightened, not on anything, without anything, that I've ingested. Not to mention, if he has, that could kind of increase it all. And I know we talked about this, the way that he died. Obviously, he went into this lake, this body of water, and then, he was found afterward. Again, an autopsy has yet to be performed. But do you think that they would look into something like that too? I know you mentioned cardiac arrest. I mean, could that affect someone? He was a fit guy. He should be able to swim for 30 minutes. I mean, who knows what he had in his system. But what are your thoughts about all that?
Yeah, that's going to be heavily dependent upon what kind of chemical influences he has. If there are drugs and alcohol in his system, and he's in a panic state, it's not surprising he could not last longer than 30 minutes. I'm surprised that he would last that long. He's going under. And I think the other piece to this people are going to be very curious about, and I've covered cases out of Thailand before. I'm hoping that at autopsy they're going to do a full spectrum workup relative to tox. I mean, from stem to stern. So not only at autopsy are they going to have to do those things that we do at autopsy in order to verify that he did in fact drown, like taking on water in the lungs. That's something we look at. We look at the inner ear, all these sorts of things. But in addition to that, the toxicology. And we, in America, we do what's called a standard panel. And those, we're looking for things like, we do salicylates, which are, like aspirin. You look for aspirin. But you also go to like common drugs of abuse. You might have THC, cannabinoids, obviously. You're going to talk about cocaine metabolite, amphetamine, methamphetamine, barbiturates, what else? Opiates, any kind of opiates. And so that's kind of the standard panel. Now, if this is anything exotic, if there's something else that might be there, will the spectrum of this toxicology exam, is it going to cover everything? They might. This is the other thing. I think I would, if I were his family, I would want to make sure that I got in contact with the embassy, and we probably have FBI representatives there, and make sure that, and I talked about this with the young man, I don't know if you recall the young man from the University of Alabama that drowned in Barcelona, I think it was, earlier back in the spring. I urge them always to make sure they retain a sample so that that sample can actually be taken into custody by the FBI and brought back to the U.S. and testing be done on that. Okay, so that's very important. And families don't think about that at the moment because they're in such shock and grief, but that's something that I strongly urge.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm sure family and friends, this guy was 32 years old.
Yeah.
He should be living a long life ahead of him. Yeah. So I'm sure right now they're just in this state of shock and disbelief. But you're right. I mean, it does make things more complicated, the fact that this happened overseas. Yes. Hopefully they are working. And I believe I saw in some of the reports that the U.S. Embassy is involved in all of this. So I'm hoping for that. But what are you thinking in terms of a timeline? If he just died, to get the autopsy or the tox results or things like that, more answers?
Yeah, it will. It doesn't matter if you're in Thailand or, Wyoming. It doesn't matter. Take a number, wait in line. And I know that sounds callous, but there are other cases that are in front of this one. And the media worldwide has picked up on this case. But just because the media has picked up on the case doesn't mean that the position in line, the order in which this is going to be done, it's not going to change. And particularly in Thailand, they're going to go through their normal procedures. They'll hand this over to their lab and their state. I can't remember. It's the Thai police. I used to know the name of it, but they have their own forensic lab, and they'll work this case all the way through. They also, I think, they have a police. I think they refer to it as a police surgeon. Is the way they refer to it. It's a forensic pathologist that will actually do the autopsy. They don't work like we do, so they work for the police. And so that examination will be done via them, and then we'll have to wait on the toxicology. They'll put a shine on this to make sure that because they're going to have an awareness. They're not foolish people. They'll have an awareness that they're going to be in the lens, if you will, and that people are watching what they're doing. Now, I don't think that's going to equal expeditious service. Okay, I think that it'll take some time, but they're going to put their best foot forward.
Yeah, I mean, we just heard about this news today, so everybody wants answers. What is going on? We're still saying reportedly, allegedly, because we don't know yet. But to your point, they have to cross all of their T's, dot all of their I's, make sure they're doing everything to follow procedure. I mean, I'm hoping for some answers for friends, family, fans of him. I mean, overall, it's just a tragedy. He was only 32 years old. It's really kind of a tough case to talk about. But Joseph Scott Morgan, as always, it's amazing to have you on. Thank you for stopping by Scandal today.
Sierra. Anytime. Have me back anytime. Thank you.
And that is where today's episode of Scandal leaves us for now. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, connect with me on social media. You can find me on places like Instagram at Sierra Gillespie. Thanks for watching today's episode of Scandal. As always, I'm your host, Sierra Gillespie, and I'll see you next time.